1 in 5, 1 in 6 is not a bad heuristic for somebody that's working with AI, that every sixth time you hit that button, you're going to get something that's wrong. And it's very difficult to know, right? In reality, which one of those it is. It's like Russian roulette.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Alex.
And my name is OP.
Welcome to AI on Fire, the podcast where ideas sparks, code burns, and the future of AI takes shape through the real stories from the people behind it.
Today's guest is Andy, founder of VeriLM. Instead of building yet another AI model, Andy is building something different, a platform that uses multiple frontier models to verify answer, compare reasoning, and help professionals trust AI when being wrong is expensive.
Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Alex and OP. It's great to meet you guys, and I'm looking forward to talking with you today.
Awesome. All right. And we'll start with a fire drill. This will set the tone for our conversation. So we have 10 rapid questions, one sentence answer. If you're ready, let's set the fire up. Ding, ding, ding.
Thumbs up.
Trust AI or verify AI?
Verified.
OpenAI, Anthropic, or Google?
All three.
1 smart AI or 3 average AI?
3 smart AI.
This was not an option. What's more dangerous, hallucination or overconfidence?
I think they travel together, confident hallucinations. I don't know.
All right. Will prompting still matter in 5 years from now?
I think so. Context is everything, and I think a prompt is context.
All right. Most overrated AI buzzword.
AGI. Nobody knows what it is.
Would you let AI diagnose you?
First cut, yes, not the final word.
All right. So then what's one profession that should never blindly trust AI?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Doctors?
Yeah.
And now back to your favorite buzzword. Do frontier models get us closer to AGI?
Yes. However you define it, we're heading that direction, I think. Yes.
All right. And the last one, what is one AI prediction you'll probably get criticized for?
I think we're heading towards a future where AI, robots, related tech are going to be better at most things than humans in economic terms. And we need to do more to figure out how that world's going to be a good place to be.
All right. Thanks. The fire drill is over and we're getting to the spark.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's dive into how it started. So you spent years building engineering system where mistakes have real consequences. What made you look at AI and think this needs a verification layer?
Yeah. I mean, a bit of background. I'm a mechanical engineer. I've been a fan of AI for, I guess, since its infancy, the ChatGPT moment. And the tools were getting to the point where I felt like our team at the time was around 25 engineers and technicians should be using it more. And the team was, I guess, tepid, and not really trusting the models. And I just was convinced that we could use it to help us move faster. And so I started just leading by example or trying to. And, the questions we're trying to answer, myriad, very technical, hard things nobody knows the right answer to. And so I just started using it. And a lot of good things happened, but at least on a couple of occasions I can remember some real egg on the face incidents where kind of got entrenched, I think is actually a term of art, into some chats on some technical topics where I think the context becomes like polluted, and then it just the model becomes incapable of doing anything except defending this position, and then it was wrong on a couple of occasions, and then it's you've got to take this result to the team and get it shot down, and so that's just negative in all the ways, right? Egg on my face. People's preconceived notions about the tools are become more entrenched because you have this example you can point at where it's like, well, this is clearly wrong. So then, maybe baby with the bathwater kind of incident, so that was where I started and felt like I can see the potential in these tools, but there's clearly problems. So I started, using multiple models. I don't know if you guys do that ever, to ask questions of this model, then that model, and you kind of try to puzzle it together. that's a okay solution, but it felt really dissatisfying. So I thought maybe we could do better. So decided to try to knock something together to ask all the models the same question, and still working on it.
All right. Yeah, we need to build something, right? And a lot of people building better models. I'm kind of
Yes.
familiar with the concept of VeriLM. So probably you can just get into a little bit more details. What does it do and how it's designed and why you decided to build it on top of existing models and not creating a new one? Or probably
Yeah. I mean,
a new
I'm
one.
not smart enough to build a new model, I don't think. I think is that, it's a simple conceptual idea that, you know, teams are better than a lone genius. I don't think there's that many people that push back on that idea. And when you're interacting with Anthropic or whatever, they're smart models, but it's still, got blind spots and all the issues that any genius thing has, right? So it just made sense to me that you're going to get, on balance, a better answer if you have a team of things working together that are not correlated. I'm not like a huge fan of asking the same model, you know, family the same question, right? Because I think you're going to get more
Yeah,
or less the
switch
same
between
answer.
Windows, Alt tab, Anthropic,
Yeah,
Google, give me the answer, right?
yeah. So yeah, it just seemed like a common sense thing to do to me, and I looked around, and I didn't see it being done, at least not being done well, in my view. And I still I think it's not. I haven't found a good implementation of it. There are some out there, but they don't feel like they're meaty enough, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the core of it. I think there's a lot of nuance to getting the systems to work right or work as well as they should. There's some other modules that have grown up around it, verifying, citations to sources. That was something that I kind of started to look into. It's actually a pretty challenging thing, but I find it to be quite useful. Anyway, yeah, that's the story of it, right? Feels like an obvious idea. I don't see it implemented well, and yeah, I'm finding, at least for my purposes, for like kind of hard questions, I trust it more than any other answer I got. So
So, so can you clarify, please, how exactly it works? So you have one place, VeriLM, where user can go, and for example, if I have some question, I just or need to research something, so I just post one prompt over there, and will get different results from different models, and I will be able to select which one is the best for me. For example, is it how it works?
yeah, I mean the general like flow, and there's the version that I'm almost ready to push out. I'll just talk about that because that's probably the one that most people would be most likely to interact with watching this. You ask your question. The very first thing that happens is it asks you a bunch of questions, which some models will do, but it's
Hmm.
a pretty good model that's coming back at you. I think that's an underrated part of the solution space, is making sure that it's clear what you're asking. Almost always there's something in there where you're like, oh no, an important clarifying point. And then you do have, to your point, OP, like a matrix where you can choose the sort of core models, your Flashes and Lunas and Sonnets of the world at different thinking levels, up to your Fables and your Souls and all that stuff, right? So you've got a matrix to select from. It makes a suggestion, but I'm a
Hmm.
big believer that professionals should have a sense of what actually happened. That you don't just want to have like a black box that routes your question to some model. You don't have any idea what model answered it, that kind of thing. So it builds this case history. It sends it to the three models that you selected at the thinking level you selected, and it answers it. And then there's a model that comes over top of all those three briefs and tries
Hmm.
to make sense of it.
Hmm.
It's the kind of fundamental.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. So when, in this case, when was the first time VeriLM, produced the answer or results that made you think, okay, this is actually different? That's what I saw
Yeah.
on the market, and it will.
Yeah. I mean, I think like those first two examples I talked about, like pretty early on, I was able to get like the complete answer, right? And one that I thought was interesting, that it's a bit of a trick question, sort of. There's a two-part answer to it. One part is a fairly straightforward derivation, but it has a physical limit. So it requires the model to not just get stuck on the straightforward part, but also bring in this idea there's a roof on this.
Hmm.
And they come from different thought processes, and a lot of models miss the second part. So that was one of these problems that, I got down the rabbit hole of justifying that there was no limit. And the models still get that wrong, but actually Gemini, in the like one of the runs I did, Gemini got it right. That it said, there's a roof on this, right? And it's considered the weakest model now. Opus and GPT at the time missed it and still did it. The interesting thing that I thought about that one is Opus is actually the model that's the synthesis layer, right? So it gets the three briefs and it sees, hey, there's a roof on this. There's a limit to this, a physical limit. And same model that just gave a confident answer, right? There is no limit. It's just this recognize that that's the right answer, right? So it was in the training data for Opus.
Mm.
It's just it didn't, it didn't trigger.
But
So that was an
Gemini has its
interesting,
own advantages, right? So Gemini is kind of a Google native product, and it can pull a lot of data in real time. It has a lot of API endpoint integrations with Google Maps and things like this.
yeah.
So the question I have,
Hmm.
are you able to measure accuracy on your side somehow or check for hallucination?
I mean, it's still, that's still a really challenging thing. That that I mean, like I mentioned, there's a module now that's built in to a greater or lesser degree where you can check the citations, right? So if the model claims that, some claim to a citation, pull the citation, pull that reference, and then put an inline opinion as to whether or not that's supported or not. So that's kind of a granular answer to that question. When it's more of the model's, internal deliberations and training, and there is no citation, you're kind of, it's a little bit of a vibes thing, right? Where you get at least three different answers. They may all be the same. And I think that's actually good when they're the same. I don't think it's necessarily bad. If you've got a tough problem, and like as an example, I can give this a problem I would have traditionally thought might take a couple of weeks for an engineer to get done. And then you'd still be kind of like, I don't know if this is right. But you get the same answer. I've done this and gotten the same answer from three different models, derived from first principles, coded up three different ways, same result, right? So now I feel like I've got a really good answer here, right? I can almost take this to the bank.
Mm.
And three different ways to solve the problem numerically, right? That I could choose from. So I don't
Nice.
know if that
Nice.
makes any sense, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Total sense. So, like, and using multiple models sounds in some cases, and specifically now when the cost is rising, etc.,
Hmm. Yeah,
like
yeah.
sounds very expensive, or might be expensive in some cases when you use frontier models. How do you work? How user work on this one? How do you justify the cost? Is it something that you take on your end, or user pay per use, or you have subscriptions? How does it work from a you know cost on your side and for a user?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, the big picture, right? If you had a question that you're going to ask your favorite model, Opus, whatever, and it's $1 of API, if that's the way you're interacting with these systems, a lot of people are just, on the subsidized plans, which is a whole nother can of worms. But let's say, you're on a plan where you are getting charged a la carte and it's $1, just, and that, might be a reasonable thing for a question. If you ask three models that question, is going to be at least $5 probably. The infrastructure to ask this question, another model sitting on top of it, some margin, right? Probably more than that even, right? So you got a $4 delta that you've got to make up. That's, several minutes of work for most professionals, right? So the question is, did you get a 2.5 minutes of time savings, right? That's the big picture, right? How are you going to verify that answer? Is 2.5 minutes enough time to do it? If that's the math. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So in other words, it's not like we're taking 1,000 and multiplying it by 5. We're taking a relatively small number and multiplying it by, 5 or so, whatever. And, I think for most professionals, that's a reasonable payoff.
And
Right.
speaking about the costs, right?
Hmm.
Who are the target audience for your product? Is it like individual data researchers, professors, or enterprise companies? Because
Mm.
for different people, the spendings will be evaluated differently, right? Or for
Yeah,
different
yeah.
types of customers.
Yeah. And I think, I just say kind of professionals loosely, but I think anybody that's asking tough questions that, don't have necessarily clear answers to, or maybe you don't even have an intuition for an answer, right? Where the verification of whatever it gives you is going to be a significant task. And I think that, engineering, science, any of the hard sciences are good things. I mean, even like, this financial example, just getting the right answer, right, to a relatively straightforward question and feeling confident you've got it is to me is worth it, right? Having said that, I use quite often the base models,
Hmm.
because I have licenses to install them, and if it's a question that
Hmm.
I want a quick thing to, and I don't really that worried about it, or I want a super well orchestrated, beautiful presentation. The tools have lots of uses in their native formats, right? So I don't think that cost is a zero. You know, I don't think that everything you ever would type into a chatbot ought to be run through a tool like this. I guess is what I'm trying to say. You have to have
Okay,
a little bit of judgment.
make total sense.
Yeah.
So now we are moving towards a reality check, and based on your experience and general with AI and building this product, what's one misconception people have about hallucination?
I think that the biggest issue is that I think that people think they're less common than they really are. There's this benchmark called, I think it's from Automated Analysis Omniscience, I think is what it's called. And it's a hallucination benchmark that's been around for a while. And the best model family is Anthropic, and then they have plateaued around 20%, and actually 20%. And actually, I think Opus 5 and Fable were worse than Opus 4.8 slightly. So that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of wrong answers, like 1 in 5. And then there are plenty of examples where that's sort of 1 in 5, 1 in 6 is not a bad heuristic for somebody that's working with AI. That every sixth time you hit that button, you're going to get something that's wrong, and it's very difficult to know, right? In reality, which one of those it is. It's like Russian roulette with your answers, kind of. It's the thing that sticks in my head a little bit. So I think I love the models, but like you have to be aware still, I think that they mess up. And smart models can mess up in worse ways, I think, because they're very fluent and they sound right.
All right,
That's
I
the
want to
scary
approach
piece.
it from a little bit different angle, right? So right now, I think the consensus algorithm between agents is becoming more and more popular, right? So where agents actually make individual decisions, and then different other agents would vote for it, right? So is it good or not? So I think you're kind of following the same concept, right? So do you think in future this will gain more like popularity and usage, the consensus algorithm between agents that they're using different LLMs, and what point of time we won't need to verify anything after the agents or after the output?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty practical guy, and so to me, I'm still seeing. I mean, the interesting thing about a model like this is you can still see in real time when the model will give a wrong answer, right? So you kind of like if there comes a time where 100 times in a row you ask a hard question and then you get 100 identical answers, then well, okay, great. But I guess more philosophic, that isn't happening to me right now. I guess more philosophically, I think it's true. Probably sometime in the future, we could assume it's true that we'll have a God model, right? That to any question to which there is a concrete answer, we'll know it. Math, physics, anything that's hard, one answer.
I
And,
can't
and
even
even
imagine
if we
how
accept that to
expensive it
be
would be.
true, uh, I wouldn't want that to be the only source of truth because the important questions at that point become not hard answers. It's not like I don't care about math so much. I want to understand, how are we going to divide up resources? I don't know. So yeah, I think that the questions that would become more important to verify might change over time as the models get better at answering factual things. But the idea of having only one source of truth is terrifying to me, no matter how smart, or maybe if it is super smart,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
thing making all the decisions. So
There will be still someone who is controlling this source of truth, right?
yeah, yeah, and it's just like there's so much gray in the world, right? And
Right,
the
right.
values that are in this God model or whatever, if we want to think about it that way, going to be awfully important to making all the trades that are going to need to be made in the future. So,
Yeah, it's
so
not
yeah,
everything like black and white all the time.
no, 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 no. So yeah.
All right. Before we jump to the forecast section, the last one, I would like to ask on reality check.
Hmm.
To clarify. like because like a lot of hype around AI, but we still want to have some people around, like and do some stuff. So if you were advising a company today, where should AI absolutely be used and where should humans stay in the loop or not in the loop, but like focus on execution without AI?
I don't know. I think it's a tough question. I think that generative AI is what we're talking about, not just, I don't know, other sorts of AI. If we make that the focus of this, I think it could be used in a lot more than it is used. But as far as like having a person not in the loop today feels like a pretty bad idea, I think, in general. The systems are not deterministic. You're not going to get the same answer from them every time, regardless of how many you ask and whatever. So I don't know if that's a satisfying answer or not, but I think that people should be using it more. I think it's a super valuable thought partner. It does analytics really well. I think people are underweighting what it's capable of, but you have to be just really thoughtful about interpreting the results you get from it. One way of doing that is using multiple models, right? Another way is just verifying everything yourself, right? Pen and pencil. But I don't see like that many. I guess I don't see that many things where I would want Gen I just be to be the last final word. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be sad
I
for
mean,
humans.
it's the future. I don't think that we'll avoid it. Not
Yeah,
now, not in 5 years, but eventually we'll get there. We'll lose our sense of judgment, and we'll be eventually just, I think, enjoying our lives and blindly trusting things that the computer tells us to do.
yeah. I think we're heading that direction, and that's where I guess we're on the same wavelength, Alex. I mean, I think probably in our lifetimes we're going to see a time where these tools are so far ahead of what we're able to do. Uh, yeah, it's going to be a different world. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, honestly. But today, right now, I think, yeah, I'd say use the tools, be aware that they're not always right.
And be polite with them, right?
What's that?
Be polite with the AI tools that you're
You
using.
got to be
They will
nice.
remember.
It's all getting written down somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not always nice in Claude code. Every once in a while, I lose my temper.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like acting up. Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's same with the kids,
mostly I'm
right?
nice.
Sometimes they're acting up. You just need to find the right limits. All right, now let's get to the forecast section pretty quick. So, where do you see VeriLM in a year from now?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see, on the order of thousands of people using it that are professionals that are able to answer questions a little bit faster, a little bit more confidently than they would have otherwise. I mean, my general goal in life is to make the world a little better, leave it a little bit better than I found it, right? And I think that right now there's a period of time where these tools are really good. They still have some weak spots. I feel like something like VeriLM, be it maybe I encourage someone else to do it better, but I think something like that can help economically make the tools more valuable to people. And so I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that happen. And I'm just kind of a builder. I'm in mechanical engineers, but now the tools are such that I feel like I can take a crack at something like this. I find it to be fun to build, and solve problems and work with people when they find issues. That's just a builder's heart. And so, yeah, I'd love to see some people making progress with it faster than they would have otherwise. So,
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story.
mhm.
And finally, on my end, what's one thing about AI that almost everyone will be wrong about over the next few years?
Yeah, I just think that most people, maybe not, I don't know, the three of us, but like most people, I think are going to be surprised how disruptive it is, particularly at the end of you say 3-4 years. I think it's going to be a, a bigger deal than most people believe. That's what I think. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, maybe something weird will happen and we'll stop developing it or we'll hit a wall but my belief is people are dramatically underweighting, particularly like years 3 and 4, probably.
Mm-hmm.
You think about where it was 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's changing so drastically, but it all changed in November last year when the Opus models were introduced. I think, yeah, that's
Yeah.
where AI actually became useful.
Yeah.
Uh,
4.5 in Claude code, they got the harness right and it started to to do stuff, and that's a
Well,
verifiable
that's when I
domain, right?
stopped
So I think,
coding. I stopped writing code myself at all, and I'm like, that's it. I'm done.
yeah, and Fable, I
Oh, yeah.
think Fable was a step change in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's better.
Yeah. I
So
mean, it's getting better and better. So we'll see.
yeah, I anyway, so that's what I think. I think most people are sleeping on it a little bit.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting to the last section. So, Andy, do you have anything else you want to share with the audience? Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I think, I think people should be using it with caution. I'd love folks to, I'll plug VeriLM, right? VERILM.ai. It's live. Anybody can get on and use it with a decent number of credits for free with an Amazon login or whatever. I'm excited to have more people try it, see if they find value in it. You can always reach out to me. I tend to work on things to try to make it better that, people point at, right? So I find that to be fun. I hope that some people will find it to be useful. And yeah, I think that's it.
I tried it. It's super useful. We'll leave all the links in the section below
Awesome.
in the description below. Andy, if you don't mind, we'll leave your LinkedIn profile link there so people can reach out and give you the feedback. And that's actually it for today's AI on Fire. Andy, thanks for jumping into the flames with us.
Thanks for all the thoughtful questions. It's really it's fun to talk with like-minded folks and see where you guys think the world's heading. So I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And remember, AI is getting smarter every day. The real question is whether it's getting more trustworthy. See you next time, guys.
Thanks.